And welcome back to Wake Up America. I'm Tom Basile. Democrats bracing for a spending plan do-over in 2022 as they look to woo Joe Manchin back into their corner. Senator is key to fulfilling the president's welfare expansion and Green New Deal plan. Will they be able to do it? And what are the implications of taxes? Here to discuss that and other issues, business and market analyst and Newsmax contributor Seth Denson, and the vice president of the Commonwealth Foundation and a fellow at the Independent Women's Forum, Jennifer Stefano. Welcome back to you both.
Morning, Tom.
All right, now before we get to Build Back Better or whatever it is, an interesting piece in the Wall Street Journal saying that workers are having a really hard time returning to the office, not because of COVID, but because of all of the distractions, that they've gotten so used to working at home that they're less productive at the office. Seth, do you think that this is really going to affect how we work long term, even beyond COVID?
Well, it depends on how we define long term, Tom. I think that for the short term, at least as long as we're in this labor market the way that we are, yeah, it's going to impact things for two reasons. One, a lot of people have gotten used to working from home and they don't want to go back. And a lot of employers are now going to give the option of working from home just in order to get people to work for them. Secondarily, we're hearing that there's a lot of people that have got side hustles or things that they're able to do to generate more revenue. And I think that's part of it too.
Jennifer, what about you? I mean, and I always look at it, you know, being somebody who's sitting in New York, surrounded by empty office buildings that are 1,000 feet tall. Is this something that is a long-term trend where people are saying, you know, I'm more productive at home and I just can't deal with all the water cooler talk and people bothering me all the time in my office, and I can't believe that I even ever worked that way. What do you think?
Well, I think these people never worked at home with a gaggle of babies and two dogs that find every squirrel and delivery man a hostile enemy and start barking at him in the middle of a Zoom meeting. I think distractions are a part of life. And yes, working from home can be quieter. I think the nature of work and whether or not offices will or will not reopen is going to be largely dependent on the industry. As you saw, the big banks, the Goldmans, the JP Morgans are saying it's not negotiable. You are coming back. It doesn't matter what the employees want. I think other industries are going to be driven by this labor shortage that we're seeing and be much more accommodating to people working at home. But again, what I would say is these people clearly who find it quiet at home don't have a gaggle of babies there or any barking dogs. God bless them.
All right, God bless them. On to Build Back Better. Jennifer, I've read a dozen articles over the last few days on the plan. Not one of them has mentioned the tax hikes. We're talking about the welfare expansion. We talk about these tax credits. We talk about the Green New Deal. The people are talking about spending and they're talking about the impact of inflation, but not the impact of the tax increases that are in this bill. What would the market impact be from the tax provisions, the way that you see it?
This would be a terrible imposition on the American worker. It's Build Back Better for government bureaucrats off the back of the American worker. This will always trickle down and hurt the people who have the least amount of bandwidth and disposable income to bear it. So I understand why Senator Joe Manchin from West Virginia is doing what he's doing. He is thinking for the working people in his state. He is fighting on behalf of those that wake up to an alarm and go out every day and do not have the bandwidth to create these big socialist programs. They do not. The American people have said time and time and again, this is my polling that I do, it's in other public polling that's out there. They do not want free things. They want freedom, the freedom to earn their own success. They understand not everyone's going to be a billionaire, but they want the opportunity to try. What Build Back Better would do was continue to deny them opportunity under the guise of giving them free things. It's not what the American people want, and there will be consequences in the 2022 governor and midterm elections.
Seth, I know that you've talked about a correction in the market that you anticipate starting to see in 2022. And again, we're not talking about these tax hikes, and I think that the latest count is, 80% of Americans would be hit with various tax hikes from this plan. Do the tax hikes as well as the inflation kind of compound a problem that then people end up seeing in their 401k?
Well, that's right, because they absolutely compound the problem, Tom, and they do in large part because we're talking about corporate tax hikes. And it's easy to pick on business, but let's recognize business is where Americans get their jobs. It's where, and specifically small businesses, where Americans try to pull themselves out or up in class. And if you tax those folks, what that tax is going to be done, it's going to be passed along to goods. We're in a significant inflationary period right now, and more taxes would just exacerbate that. It would make it greater. And that ultimately becomes a tax that on the working class, we talk about it a lot, that inflation is a hidden tax. And so, yes, the taxes that are going to pay for Build Back Better, which, by the way, aren't even going to pay for it as much as they're trying to spend in this thing, would be absolutely detrimental to every American from a taxation purpose.
Jennifer, do you think that Republicans need to be talking about the taxes more? I mean, I think that we've talked that they're talking a lot about relating spending to inflation, but I'm not hearing a lot about the taxes. As I mentioned, they're not really driving a message on that, which I find very interesting.
Right. The Republicans should come out and they should be saying one thing to the American people. How much more of your take-home pay do you want to give to Bernie Sanders? How much more money do you have that you really don't need that you want to give to the government and that you want to pay for? How much more do you want to pay for all the goods and services that you currently use? How much more? Because that's what Build Back Better is going to do. So it's up to you, the American people, to determine how much more do you want to pay. If the answer is I don't want to pay anything, then this is a bad deal for you. And I think if the Republicans come out and make it very simple and don't get caught up in pie charts and percentages and put people first, then they can win the day on this. And I think they have a really great ally in Senator Joe Manchin, and they should listen to what he's saying and how he's talking to his constituents in West Virginia. I think that would be very important for the Republicans.
All right, we got to leave it there. Thank you, Seth Denson and Jennifer Stefano. We're going to catch up with you in the next hour. And plenty more still to come on Wake Up America. And don't forget to download the Newsmax app. Do what millions of others have done and take us with you everywhere you go. It's free. You're watching Wake Up America only on Newsmax. Don't go away.